Hi, welcome to part 1 of this tutorial series on Angular.io. We're going to follow the steps on the Angular.io website to create an Angular app. So the first step is to set up our development environment, and so I've already installed NVM. Now just to check what version of NPM I have, I can run npm ls-remote, and it shows that I've selected NVM version 6. I can check the package NVM manager version, and that's 3.8.6. NVM version is 0.19.0, and node version is 6.0. So once our node is set up, we can run the steps described here. So the first step is I'll open my editor. So on Sublime, I can open the README file and create just a placeholder for now and call it Angular.io workshop. Now in the same folder, I can create a tsconfig.json. So TS stands for TypeScript, and it seems the Angular folks want you to use TypeScript for writing Angular IO applications. I call it Angular IO because AngularJS is the version 1 of Angular, and Angular IO is version 2. So this tsconfig.json is just a guide for the TypeScript compiler, and the typings.json file contains some shims. So that's described in a later chapter. So for now, we're just going to use these configurations as is. We want to trust Angular to have the right config in them. And here I can just copy this configuration, and now I can add a package.json which describes all the dependencies for my npm package manager. So once I have package.json, I can install those dependencies. So once that's done, we can check if the package.json contains these helper scripts, or so we can see that it contains typings installed right here, and it contains tsc, it contains typings and tsc-w. So now we can run install to install these scripts. So notice I didn't use sudo because my nvm was installed without sudo, and nvm was used to install node as well as npm, which means that I can run npm without sudo, which is a good thing, so that all your binaries can run without sudo. The Angular component that we need is going to be, so this section actually describes some errors and warnings that you might see during the installation. In my case, I do see some warnings here, and no errors, I guess. Let's wait for it to complete. Okay, so it completed with just a few warnings. Now we can create our app folder. So in here I create a folder called app. I I change directory to app, and I'm going to add this component.ts file. So in here I can say touch app.component.ts, and under the app folder, if I open app.component.ts, it describes what the basic app should be like. So here I can just copy that and paste it. So in this app component, the base component is the thing that's been, or the root component is the one that's been declared and exported. So it's pretty simple in terms of the syntax. It just has a import to import the Angular core. It has a component section which has the template and a selector, and it exports this component as app component. Now the components obviously are building blocks, and there's some things out here about components. It talks about apps being modular. So all the modules are basically library modules, and if we need something from a module, we import it. So the first line imports the component function from Angular core, and the add component decorator is telling Angular how that component is supposed to be used. So the add component uses the metadata object, and the metadata object has the field selector and template. The selector is just a CSS selector, and the element name is my app, which is the same as the CSS class. The template itself has just a single line of HTML, and the bottom there's a component class, and we export the component class. Now in our main.ts, there's a in the app folder, we're going to add a main.ts file. So back here we can just say main.ts, and under here we can import Bootstrap, import the app component, and bootstrap the app component. So those three lines, and the bootstrapping in this case has nothing to do with the Bootstrap CSS project. This one is bootstrapping Angular itself. So here they said that bootstrapping isn't core because there isn't just a single way to bootstrap the app, and in this case we're bootstrapping it using the Angular browser dynamic platform. Now here it's talking about the different contexts in which app component might be used. So here what we'll do is we're going to use the index.html to host it. So if we go back up to the root folder and we create the index.html, now you'll notice that we can add the markup here with the shims for, or the polyfills for the older browsers, the uh, node uh, modules, which are calling the JavaScript necessary to run Angular, as well as the actual uh, component that's going to host the application, which is my dash app. So let's just add this to the index HTML right here. Okay, so in this section, they added the polyfills and the system.js library, and finally we're going to add the system.js.config.js. So let's create a file called system.js.config.js, and that's going to so system.js.config.js will be in the same folder as the index.html. So system.js.config.js, and then in this folder, now the next step that we're going to do is in our main.ts, we have the import for the app component, and the import doesn't have a file name for the extension. Now in our case, we can add a styles.css. So let's create a simple styles.css, and in the styles.css we can add the styles that are added here, like that, and let's run npm start. Okay, so that loaded our Angular app. Now this is basically loading the page that we declared in our index.html, which is calling the component, which is app component, and it's just loading this template right here. So we can call it Angular Workshop Part 1, or just Angular Workshop for now. And once you save that, it should reload it. Yeah, so it's auto reloading it. Anyway, for now, that's it. We're going to continue this in part 2, where we'll look into adding features to this app as described in the tutorial. Thanks for watching.